Once again, we are enjoying ourselves and talking about issues around family life. And today we are talking about emotional intelligence in marital relationships. It's a topic that is so important because it helps us to manage our relationships well. Maybe we start by defining what emotional intelligence is when it comes to marriage. I'm sure some of us are aware, those who are working in corporate environments, you are aware that even there, they train you on emotional intelligence for the purposes of work. But that also is found in marital relationships where you need to be intelligent emotionally. Now let me take this time and just give you a definition for this emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the secret of lasting intimate relationships, largely because it makes the couple extremely aware of the changes, whether large or small, that are constantly occurring in the couple's life and in others around the couple itself. Therefore, this is important because it makes the relationship a lasting one. You would notice that nowadays relationships are different from the way they were in the olden days. There is a new yardstick that is now being used to judge or evaluate relationships. That yardstick is no longer one whether you are smart or not, thinking that if you are smart, you are going to have a successful marriage. Therefore, being smart is no longer a yardstick for a successful marriage. And the second thing is whether you are trained or you have expertise, those are no longer used as evaluation for a successful marriage or evaluation for a happy marriage, because a successful marriage is not you staying married until death do you part. It's you enjoying the benefits of marriage, being happily married, enjoying fulfillment of your dreams, your plans, your goals in your marital relationship. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about someone who is persevering, who's staying in a marital relationship because of the children. We're talking about someone who says, if I were to be given a second chance, I would still opt for this individual because he or she fulfills me, she makes me to be happy and to enjoy myself. However, the yardstick now that is being used is how well we handle ourselves and others in a marital relationship. That's very important. Remember, it starts with you, how you handle yourself. You can't be in a position to handle other people if you cannot handle yourself. Emotional intelligence is about three important things, and I want you to keep this in mind as we continue to go together. The first one is that when it comes to emotional intelligence, you need to be honest. You need to be honest with yourself. You need to be honest with your emotions. We need to be honest with the expression of your emotions. Therefore, honesty begins with you, let alone other people, but you need to be honest to yourself. Many people are suffering in marital relationships because they are faking happiness. They are faking expressions of their emotions. They are not honest with themselves. Therefore, honesty helps. The second thing that is important is you need to be aware of your emotions. And when you're aware, you need to be in touch with them. Because if you're not in touch with your emotions, you're going to mess up. Then the third thing that is important here is that you need to be smart with your feelings or emotions. In other words, Being smart is not just something that is out there with no relations to your life. Now, being smart with your emotions is actually knowing when to do what and when not to do what. Therefore, that helps you. You are now beginning to be smart with your emotions. Now, whenever you have issues like emotional intelligence, you will pick up that there are always personal benefits. There are things that you say, hey, thank you that I've done this. And we pick up three things that are helping us as benefits of understanding and practicing emotional intelligence. The first one is that we get a stronger personal relationship. Now, if I know who I am, if I know my feelings, if I know my emotions, then I will relate to the other person better. But if I don't know, for instance, I normally ask a question when I'm dealing with a couple. Tell me, when you are angry, how do you respond? How do you react? And some would say, I would be explosive, and others would say, I would get into a shell. Then I would then ask a question. How many times would you know your reaction if you are angry? How many times would you know that I'm going to react this way? And most couples would say, hey, sometimes my reaction surprises me also. And the minute you are saying your reactions, your reaction surprises you also, it simply means that some of your emotions are actually not necessarily under control. And therefore, stronger personal relationships are achieved when we talk about the issue of emotional intelligence. The second thing that is important, it increases optimism and confidence. You actually see positives in things. You actually see issues as resolvable issues. You don't see things as huge mountains, or you don't see them as obstacles. You don't see them as things that are blocking you. You cannot go forward. You begin to see an opportunity to resolve everything that confronts you. Then the third thing is, it helps you with a better life. Because if you know how to deal with your emotions, some of the things that would hurt you, some of the things that would make you angry would not do that. And therefore, your health is spared in your relationship because of how you deal with it. Now, of course, when we talk about emotional intelligence, it does not only help you with your family. It goes beyond. You get benefits outside your family. Benefits like effective leadership skills. Because if you know yourself, you will be able to make decisions that are going to favor you. You're going to make decisions that are going to make you proceed in life, that are going to fulfill and meet your prospects in life. Therefore, this is important. The second thing is your communication is going to be improved because you know who you are and you can express yourself the way you want to. Then thirdly, you will be able to resolve conflicts in your relationship. You will have less conflicts in your marital relationship. And you would have better problem-solving skills because you know who you are and you know who you're dealing with. Now, there are always domains that are helping us. I normally call them the 4 essential competencies of emotional intelligence. Those are domains that we are going to briefly talk about. The first one, now I normally divide them into 2. Now, 2 categories. In other words, myself as well as others. Now, under myself, I have 2 essential competencies. The first one is self-awareness, and the second one is self-management. While in the second group, which relates to others, I have social awareness and I have relationship management. Now, when it comes to this one, you have actually these 4 things, all right? You have self-awareness, self-management, and then you have social awareness, and then you have relationship management. Now, under self-awareness, now we're dealing with me here as an individual because I would relate to you in my relationship, in our relationship. Therefore, I need to start by understanding myself, who I am, and how I deal with issues. The first thing that I need to understand about myself is I need to understand my feelings, and when I've understood my feelings, I would be able to have a handle to handle my emotions. All right? I would have a handle that will help me to handle my emotions. Now, we begin here by asking a question. And the question is, what is going on inside me? Now you must remember, no one else can answer this question except you. Because it's not going on in someone else's inside. It's going on within you. And therefore, that's the question you need to answer. Whenever you're confronted with a situation, whether it's anger, whether it's frustration, whether it's betrayal, once you deal with an issue, the first question that must come into your mind, what is going on? Because if you answer that question, you are in a better position to respond appropriately to a situation. Now, here we need to look at the few competencies that are important. The first competence here under self-awareness is emotional self-awareness. When we talk about emotional self-awareness, we're talking about you reading your emotions, and we're talking about you recognizing your emotions. In other words, you read what's going on in you. That's answering that question. Then you recognize that you have emotions. You recognize I'm angry. And therefore, if I'm angry, I need to make a decision that is not going to complicate the situation. I'm angry. I've realized it. Or I'm in a flight mode. And if nothing is happening here, I'm going to sprint and leave the relationship. Recognize those emotions, because once you recognize them and once you read them, you are able then to look at the relationship and see, is this helping my relationship or is this destroying my relationship? That's the first thing that you would look at. Then you would have the second one, which is called accurate self-assessment. With the accurate self-assessment, you must remember, as an individual, you have skills, you have strengths, and you have limitations. Now remember, if you tilt towards your limitations, you will always fall short, because you know that's an area you don't have a strength at. Therefore, you must always notice that when you want to express your emotions, rather express your emotions towards the areas where you have a strength. Because when you have a strength, you would be able to control the emotions in that area, because it's your area of strength. But if it's your area of weakness, your area of limitation, it's going to be difficult for you to control any of the emotions that would explode in that atmosphere. Then the other important aspect, the third one, is self-confidence. Now remember, lack of knowledge causes self-worth challenges, because you're not confident and you feel incapable. You don't have knowledge, which is power. Therefore, it's important for us to tap on our capabilities when we're in a relationship. I'm capable of this, I'm capable of that, and I'm capable of that. Therefore, what I'm capable at, I must use it for the benefit of my relationship, because it will help my partner to also see the strengths and the mile I'm prepared and I'm willing to go. And the other important thing is confidence is very, very important. When we talk about confidence in a relationship, if things are not going well, for instance, if as a man in your bedroom you are malfunctioning, that affects your confidence. And it affects even the confidence of your partner. And if you, unfortunately, are not able to provide for the family, that on its own becomes a deterrent. Therefore, these are issues that affect your confidence as you move forward. Therefore, confidence is very key in the relationship. And you need to understand that, you need to know that I'm capable of this, I'm not capable of this. So that your partner can actually come in. That's where we complete each other. In areas where I'm not capable, my spouse is capable to help me so that we can walk the walk together. Now, what do I need to practice when I'm dealing with this? Because that's very important. What do I really need to practice as I do is self-awareness? There are two important things. The first one is that whenever I go through a situation in life or in my marital relationship, I must always be aware of my emotional state. Because if I miss to understand and know my emotional state, I'm going to be in trouble. Because I'm going to act in a way that is going to surprise me, and that is going to surprise others also. Therefore, it's important to be aware of your emotional state. The second thing that is important is to be in tune with your emotions. This is very key. Be in tune or be in touch with your emotions. How you express your feelings, it must reflect on how you feel. You can't express something else and you feel this way. Therefore, there must be a synergy. You must be in touch with your feelings. You must be able, you can't control what you are not in touch with. Therefore, when you're in touch with your feelings, you will be able to keep them under control. Therefore, those are two things that are important when it comes to practicing self-awareness. Then we have the second thing, which I called self-management. That's the second one. The first one was self-awareness, and the second one is self-management. When it comes to self-management, you must remember that emotional self-control is key. That's the first competency under self-management. It's emotional self-control. Now, some of our emotions can be very disruptive, and some of them can be very impulsive. And therefore, as someone who is in a relationship, remember the disruptive as well as the impulsive reaction to emotions can cause a lot of damage in your relationship. Therefore, you need to learn to keep these under control. All right? How am I going to keep this under control? We go back to self-awareness. You know what your issues are. You know your feelings. You can recognize them. And when you've recognized them, you know where they fit. Are they fitting in your limitations? Are they fitting in your strength at this time? And if they are fitting in your limitations, you need to make sure that you change the pendulum, because in that area you are not going to win the battle. You can only win the battle when you swing the pendulum to your strengths in your relationship. Okay? Then the second one is transparency. All right? Once again, we are talking about the honesty that we talked about. We're talking about integrity. We're talking about trustworthiness. These are issues that are helping you to manage yourself. Now, remember, when you manage yourself, you manage, it's your reputation, okay? Therefore, your reputation, because your spouse is unable to see what is inside you. You are the only one who knows what is inside. Therefore, we see your reputation. We see the overflow of what is inside in you and through your reputation. we see you doing certain things, we need to manage that image. You need to manage that reputation. Because if you can't manage the image, you're going to be in trouble. Therefore, remember, we are supposed to be honest, we are supposed to have integrity, and we are supposed to be trustworthy. Those three things are helping us to be ourselves. Then we talk about adaptability. Situations change, and when they change, we just need to make sure that we are able to adapt to situations. And when we adapt, we also, once again, keep our emotions in check and under control, because not all the situations are favorable to us. Then you have the other one, where we talk about meeting your partner's goals. You must remember that emotions need to be understood. You cannot control them if you don't understand them. And when we talk about meeting your partner's goals, we are actually looking at few things that are important here. We're talking about you have plans, you have aspirations, you have dreams, you have goals, you have priorities, and these are things that you have in your life. And therefore, here we're saying, make sure that you understand what you want in life. Because there are people who are not sure what they want. Now, if you are not sure what you want, who else will know what you want? Therefore, that helps you to be able to assist the other person to achieve the goal, or to assist yourself also to achieve the goal. Now, remember, there will always be initiatives that will help you to move forward. Therefore, we are saying seize the opportunities that are helping to improve your relationship. Therefore, if there are any opportunities, grab them, run with them, but remember, your emotions must always be in check. Then, there are also issues that seem to be difficult. Now, I'm going to just share one important thing here that is important. One thing that is important. That one thing is, if you are looking at the story of the 12 spies that were sent to spy the land of milk and honey, when they came back, 2 of those said, hey, we have seen challenging people, but we can go, we can fight them, we can win them. The other 10 came back and said, what? We just saw ourselves as grasshoppers in front of those people. Now, remember, it is not anyone else who is describing them as grasshoppers. They themselves are describing themselves as grasshoppers. And the other 2 are actually describing themselves as people who have seen a challenge, and a challenge that can be confronted. And therefore, here, we are talking, when we talk about optimism, we are saying you see the upside in every situation, every difficulty that you go through. It depends upon you to see yourself as a grasshopper when you are dealing with difficult issues, or to see yourself as someone who can handle difficult situations that you're going through. Then, how do we practice this one? Because it's very important. One, you need to take responsibility of your emotions. When you've taken a position, when you've expressed your emotions, and you know that the consequences are adverse, take responsibility, because you've made a decision to do that. Therefore, taking responsibility is important. Sometimes take responsibility of the setbacks that are in your relationships, in your relationship. Sometimes you may not have caused the setback, but you may have contributed to the setback. Therefore, take responsibility. The second one is reframe problems to challenges, all right? Because that would help you. Instead of seeing a problem, see a challenge. Because a problem will make you lose hope and throw the towel. But a challenge is something that you can challenge and go forward with. Then know the triggers so that you can avoid them. Because if you don't know triggers, you will be in trouble. Now, when it comes to the other part, when you are dealing with the other person, this was just you. Now you're dealing with your spouse. Now here, you need, when it comes to social awareness competencies, we're talking about empathy. In other words, taking interest in your partner's needs and concerns. Get into your partner's shoes. See if I were to respond this way, if I were to react this way, where would that put my spouse? All right? Because you have now gotten into her or his shoes, and you react and respond the way she would if she or he was in those shoes. Therefore, that's important. Then the second thing that is also important here in social awareness is that it's service. When we talk about service, we talk about meeting your spouse's needs. Now, this is very, very important. You can't meet them if you don't recognize them. Therefore, you need to recognize and you need to accept them and you need to meet them. Therefore, it starts with recognizing, then meet your needs. Because if you don't meet her needs or his needs, the relationship is going to suffer. And that is going to cause a problem. Then the last one is your relationship management. There are very few, about 3 effective relationship tips that we need to look at. The first one is that in a relationship, you must be able to influence and persuade your spouse towards a positive relationship. If you can't do that, then your relationship is in trouble. The second thing that is important, don't vote on things because vote divides us. You must always reach consensus in handling issues that are for the betterment of your relationship. And that is possible because they will help you to support each other. Then the third one that is important is you need to motivate and inspire yourself first. Then motivate and inspire your spouse. Then if that happens, you will be able to achieve your goals. Now, in achieving your goals, just remember there are a few things that you need to remember in this emotional intelligence. One, you need to read yourself and read your spouse. You need to know yourself and you need to know your spouse. The second thing that is important is you need to use your emotions better to perfect your relationship. In other words, whenever you use your emotions, whenever you express your emotions with the aim to improve your relationship, not to destroy your relationship. The third thing that is important is, for a better relationship, you need to understand your own emotions before you could query someone else's emotions. And then lastly, another key factor, manage your emotions. Now remember, when we talk about emotional intelligence, 3 things come into mind. And those 3 things must always be there when you deal with issues. Honesty, being in touch or in tune with your feelings or emotions, and managing and controlling your emotions. Those are 3 things that are important. And therefore at home, I would like to encourage you to use emotional intelligence to better your marriage relationship. God bless you. Let's pray together before I leave you. Kind and loving Father, once again we come before Thee. Thank You for being such a great God. Help us, Lord, to control our emotions and help us, Lord, to know and understand them. Help us, Lord, to recognize our strengths and limitations, and help us, Lord, to change, to swing the pendulum from our limitations to our strengths as we handle our marital relationships. Thank You, God, for being with us today. Bless the families that are listening and watching this video. Help them, Lord, to have a better life and a better understanding of each other and a better way to express their emotions and feelings for the betterment of their relationship. This I pray in Your name alone.